The twin suns of Drosari Prime burned in the orange sky as Kalen stepped off his ship. The planet smelled of oil, metal, and dust. He had visited many strange markets before, but this one always felt heavier, like it carried the weight of things. Not spoken aloud, Kalen was a quiet man, more comfortable with machines than people. His ship, the Wanderer, needed a rare power converter. This market was the only place nearby that sold it. He walked past booths full of blinking gadgets, rusty weapons, and alien food. Merchants shouted prices in different languages. Some greeted him with fake smiles, others simply stared. He found the converter at a stall run by a short, four-eyed trader. After some negotiation, Kalen paid and turned to leave. That's when he noticed a small crowd gathered near a metal cage at the edge of the market, curious. He walked closer. Inside the cage were 6 being slaves, by the looks of it. They wore thin clothing and sat silently, their eyes empty. Some were old, others younger. Most looked away when Kalen passed, avoiding his gaze. But one of them did in single quotes T. She was sitting in the corner, her knees pulled to her chest. Her skin was pale green, and her silver eyes stared right at him, not with fear, not with anger, just watching, quietly, as if she were trying to understand him. Kalen stopped. He didn't believe in slavery. On Earth, it had been banned long ago. But out here, in the border worlds, it still happened. Some people said, it's just how things work out here. He didn't agree. He never got involved before. He fixed machines, not people. But something about her expression wouldn't let him walk away. The merchant noticed him. Interested. The seller grinned, showing sharp teeth. That one's quiet, doesn't talk much, works hard, real obedient. Kalen frowned. What's her name? The merchant laughed. They don't have names, just numbers. She's for 27B. Take her for half price. Hardly eats anything. Kalen looked back at her. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She just sat there, calm and silent. But her eyes never left his, without another word. Kalen pulled out his trade card. I'll take her. The merchant's grin grew wider. Done deal. A few minutes later, the cage opened. The girl stepped out slowly. Her hands trembled slightly, but her face stayed still. She followed Kalen without protest. Some traders nearby watched, surprised. Most humans didn't buy slaves, and if they did, it was never like this, quiet, without cruelty. Back at the Wanderer, Kalen opened the ramp and guided her inside. The ship was small but clean. He pointed to a seat. You can sit, he said. Softly she did. He walked to a cabinet, pulled out a protein bar, and placed it in her hands. Eat. You look hungry. She held the bar for a few seconds before nibbling on the corner. Her movements were slow, careful. I'm not going to hurt you, Kalen added. You're safe here. She didn't answer, but her eyes flickered, just slightly. Kalen scratched his head, unsure of what to do next. Do you understand me? She nodded once. He sat across from her. I'm Kalen. I fly this ship. You don't belong in a cage. Nobody does. Still no words. But she finished the protein bar. Kalen stood. You can sleep here, he said, pointing to the small bed in the corner. I'll sleep in the cockpit tonight. Take your time. Rest. She looked at the bed, then at him. Slowly, she got up and walked over to it. She didn't lie down right away, just stood beside it. Like she didn't believe it was hers. Kalen stepped out, giving her space. That night, he sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the stars through the front window. What had he done? He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a rescuer. He was just a mechanic with a ship that barely held together. What could he offer her still? He didn't regret it. When morning came, he checked the living space. She was curled on the bed, still asleep. He made tea and waited. By noon, she finally stepped out. She had washed her face and wore one of the spare tunics he had left near the bed. It was too big, but she didn't seem to mind. Kalen offered her a cup. She hesitated, then took it. They sat in silence for a while. He spoke again. You have a name? She looked at him for a long moment. Then, very softly, she whispered, Tira. Kalen smiled gently. Tira. That's a good name. She blinked. Her hands tightened around the cup. You're not a slave anymore, he said. You're free if you want to leave when we reach the next port. I won't stop you. But if you want to stay, I could use some company. Tira didn't answer, but her shoulders relaxed just a little. Over the next 2 days, she explored the ship slowly. She watched Kalen work, fixing wires, checking the engines, adjusting the panels. He didn't give her orders. He didn't expect her to clean or cook. He just talked sometimes, told her about planets he had visited, storms he had flown through. Music from Earth. One afternoon, she picked up a tool from the table and handed it to him before he asked. He looked up, surprised. You know tools? She nodded. You worked on machines? Again, she nodded. Maybe you can help me fix this old engine core one day, he said, smiling. For the first time, a tiny, careful smile touched her lips. In the stars above Drosari Prime, the Wanderer flew quietly. Inside, a man who had never wanted to be a hero shared his ship with a girl who had never known kindness. She was just an alien slave woman, until he gave her something new, a place not just to exist, but to belong. And though neither of them knew it yet, this was only the beginning. The stars outside the Wanderer blinked like quiet watchers. The ship moved slowly through space, away from Drosari Prime and toward the next small system. Inside, things were quiet but not cold. Something was changing. Tira sat in the corner of the control room, legs crossed, silent. She watched Kalen work at the console. He adjusted the ship's direction, checked power levels, and tapped buttons with skill. His hands moved with ease, like someone who had spent many years fixing broken things. She didn't speak much, still. She listened to everything. Kalen didn't rush her. He talked sometimes, not expecting answers. He spoke about small things, what stars they were passing, how the ship's core was acting strange again, how space food always tasted like cardboard. Tira watched, listened, learned. The 3rd day after leaving Drosari Prime, Kalen was in the engine room when Tira walked in. He glanced up, wiping sweat from his face. Something wrong? She shook her head. He smiled. Just looking around. Again, she nodded. Well, he said, pointing to the open panel, this thing's been giving me trouble for a month. Wires are too old. Want to see? She stepped closer. He moved aside a little, giving her room. Tira crouched next to the panel and stared at the wires. Her hands twitched, like they wanted to move. Then, slowly, she reached out and adjusted a connector. The lights flickered, then held steady. Kalen blinked. You fixed that. She pulled her hand back, unsure. No, really, he said. That was the problem. You saw it just like that. She gave a small nod. Kalen gave a short laugh, more surprised than amused. You've worked on ships before. Tira looked at him, then down. Long ago, she whispered. It was one of the first full sentences she had spoken. Kalen didn't press her. Well, he said gently, you still got the skill. That night, he cooked something simple, boiled rice and protein mix. It didn't taste great, but it was warm. He placed a bowl in front of her at the small table. She hesitated, then sat across from him. It was the first time they had eaten together, you know? He said between bites, this table's been empty for years. I always eat in the cockpit, old habit. Tira didn't reply, but she looked at him curiously. I used to work in a big station near the outer belt, he said, but it got shut down. After that, I just kept flying. She tilted her head slightly, still listening. Kalen smiled. I like talking to you, even when you don't talk back. She gave the smallest smile. The next morning, Kalen was in the cockpit, checking nearby stations. One tiny moon had a rest stop with supplies and fuel. He marked it as their next stop. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. He turned. Tira was standing there, holding something. It was a small piece of wire art. She had bent old wires into the shape of a flower. I made this, she said, voice soft. Kalen took it gently. It's beautiful. Thank you. She looked at the stars. You gave me a bed, food, space to breathe. You deserve that, he replied. Tira turned to him. No one ever said that before. Kalen's eyes softened. Well, Now someone has. Later that day, Kalen was working under the main floor, fixing a coolant leak. He called out, "Tira, hand me the torch." A moment later, her hand reached down and gave it to him. He slid out from under the panel. "You really know ships, don't you?" She nodded. "Want a job?" He joked. "Ship mechanic?" Tira looked unsure. "I'm serious," he said. "Not as a helper. As a crewmate." She blinked. "Me? A crewmate? Why not?" he said. "This ship is old and stubborn. It needs the sets of hands." Tira looked down, then met his eyes. "I'd like that." Kalen nodded. Then it settled. From that moment, she wasn't just a guest. She was part of the crew. As the days passed, their routine became smoother. Kalen handled the flying. Tira fixed what was broken. She didn't talk much, but she smiled more. She stopped jumping at loud noises. She started humming softly when she thought he couldn't hear. He heard it anyway, and he smiled. One evening, Kalen brought out an old screen and played a recording from Earth. It showed green forests, blue oceans, children playing with animals. Tira stared at it with wide eyes. "Is that your home?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "That's Earth. It's beautiful." He nodded. "It is. Haven't been there in years. But I remember the smell of trees." She leaned closer to the screen. "We had forests too," she said quietly. Before they came, Kalen didn't ask who they were. He didn't need to. "You'll go back one day," he said. Tira shook her head. "There's nothing left." Silence filled the room. Kalen said, "Then maybe you can plant something new. Somewhere else." Tira looked at him with wonder. "Do you really think I can?" He smiled. "I know you can." That night, as the Wanderer glided through deep space, Tira sat by the window, watching stars pass by. She was not in a cage anymore. She had food, a bed, tools, and someone who saw her as more than a number. She had a name. She had a place. And for the first time in a long time, she felt something warm in her chest. Hope. The Wanderer flew quietly through space, like a bird gliding between stars. Inside, Kalen and Tira were finishing small repairs. The ship had become their home, a place of tools. Soft lights, quiet music, and peaceful silence. Tira now moved. With confidence, she fixed wiring, cleaned filters, and helped Kalen with power checks. She spoke more often too, though still softly. Her voice was calm, with a gentle tone that made even silence feel safe. One morning, Kalen stood in front of the cockpit window, looking at a nearby station on the scanner. He turned to Tira, who was checking a control panel beside him. "There's a delivery job posted on that trade station," he said. "They need someone to bring spare parts to a mining ship nearby." Tira looked at the screen. "Is it safe?" Kalen smiled. "Simple job. Easy credits. Quick flight. Want to come?" She paused for a moment. "You mean in the pilot's seat?" He laughed. No, I'll fly, but you'll be beside me. Co-pilots." "Chair." Tira's silver eyes lit up with something new. Interest, and maybe a little fear. "I've never flown. There's a first time for everything." They prepared the ship together. Tira checked the navigation systems. Kalen uploaded the delivery information. Then they both strapped in. Tira sat on the right, her fingers lightly touching the edge of the control panel. Kalen looked at her. "Ready?" She took a deep breath. "Yes," he smiled. Then pushed the throttle forward. The ship shook gently, lifted off the station dock, and soared into the sky. The stars outside were brighter now. The view from the cockpit was open and wide, like an endless ocean. Tira stared through the window, amazed. Her home planet had no open skies anymore. She hadn't seen stars like this since childhood. Kalen glanced over. "Beautiful, isn't it?" She nodded slowly. "Like a dream." He pointed to a blinking screen. "That's the path marker. It shows us where to go." She studied it carefully. As they flew, Kalen explained the buttons, screens, and controls. Tira listened closely, her eyes following everything he did. When he leaned back to stretch his arms, she leaned forward and checked the fuel readings. "Low. On line 3, she said quietly. Kalen looked. She was right. "You're a fast learner," he said. Tira didn't smile, but her eyes glowed just a little brighter. After an hour, the ship made a small jump to reach the mining sector. It was Tira's first time feeling a jump through space. She grabbed the seat when the stars bent and twisted around them, but she didn't scream. When it was over, she looked around, amazed. How far did we go? Kalen checked the system. About 10 million kilometers. She shook her head slowly. So fast and quiet, he nodded. Space is big, but this old ship makes it feel smaller. They reached the mining ship and dropped off the delivery. The miners were friendly, offering water and thanks. One of them, a tall red-skinned man with a laugh like thunder, looked at Tira curiously. Your crewmate? He asked Kalen. Kalen nodded. The best one I've had. Tira stood straight beside him. She didn't hide behind him this time. She didn't look away. The miner smiled and gave her a small tool as a gift for your belt. Tira accepted it with quiet pride. On the flight back, Kalen leaned back and closed his eyes. You want to try flying? Tira looked at him in shock. Me? Just a little, he said. I'll be right here. She hesitated, then slowly reached out and held the main handle. Kalen moved his hand aside gently. Small push forward, he said. She did. The ship responded, slow and steady. She moved it left, then right. Her hands were careful, controlled. Her heart beat fast, but her face stayed calm. You're doing great, Kalen said. She really smiled for the first time in weeks. But then the lights flickered. An alarm beeped on the screen. Warning, power fluctuation in rear panel. Kalen sat up. That's not good. He stood and rushed to the engine panel. Tira jumped out of the pilot's seat and followed. The ship trembled slightly. A fuse might be overheating, he said. Checking the wiring. We need to reroute power fast. Tira didn't wait. She dropped to her knees, pulled open a floor hatch, and reached into the circuits. Kalen looked over in surprise. You know how to reroute. She didn't answer. Her hands moved quickly, pulling out the connectors, adjusting wires, locking a bypass in place. The lights steadied. The alarm stopped. Kalen stared at her. That was amazing. Tira stood slowly. I remembered, from long ago. You saved the ship, he said, still amazed. You really are a mechanic. Tira looked at her hands. I thought I forgot, but it came back. Kalen smiled. Looks like you didn't lose everything after all. That night, the Wanderer floated peacefully among the stars again. Kalen cooked dinner while Tira sat by the window, her eyes full of quiet thought. When they sat down to eat, he raised his cup to our first mission. Tira lifted her cup gently, and not the last. They clinked cups together. The sound was small, but meaningful. Later, Kalen found her sketching something on a pad. It was a simple drawing of a ship, a big one, strong and full of light. Yours? He asked. One day, she said. Maybe I can build it. He nodded. With your hands, I believe you can. She looked at him. You gave me a chance to remember who I am. Kalen leaned back in his chair. No, you did that yourself. I just gave you a seat at the table. And in the quiet of the night, while the stars drifted slowly outside, Tira felt something she had not felt in years. Belonging. The Wanderer was flying quietly near a calm trade route. The stars were peaceful, and everything inside the ship felt normal. Tira was working on a broken sensor panel, while Kalen sipped warm tea and adjusted the course. It was a regular day, and both of them had started to enjoy these quiet moments. I think this sensor will work again, Tira said, wiping her hands. Let's hope so, Kalen replied. It keeps blinking for no reason. Tira smiled. She had grown more confident. Each day, her voice was stronger and her eyes brighter. The soft sadness that used to stay on her face had started to fade. But peace doesn't always last long in space. Just as Tira closed the panel, a sharp alarm rang through the cockpit. Incoming ship detected. Fast approach. Identity. Unregistered. Kalen's hands flew to the controls. That's not a good sign. Tira stood still. How close are they? Kalen checked the screen. To close. They'll reach us in 2 minutes. A chill moved through the room. Kalen opened the comms. Unregistered ship. State your purpose. No reply. Tira's voice was quiet. It could be them. Kalen looked at her. Who? She didn't answer. 1 minute later, the enemy ship came into view. It was large, dark gray, and covered in marks from battles. On its side was a broken symbol half-circle and chain. Tira's eyes locked on it. Her hands shook. I know that symbol, she said, voice barely above a whisper. That's one of the slaver fleets. My old owner worked with them. Kalen's face hardened. They're not taking you. The comm crackled to life. A deep, sharp voice came through. This is Commander Jern of the Vorn fleet. You are harboring stolen property. Release the slave known as for to 7B immediately. Tira's breath caught. Her body froze. Kalen answered firmly. Her name is Tira. She is not property. She is free. You have no right here. The voice laughed. You think one little ship can stop us? Kalen pressed a button. Try me. Inside the ship, red warning lights blinked. The enemy vessel charged weapons. Tira stepped back, panic in her eyes. Kalen grabbed her hand. Stay with me. I can't go back, she said, shaking. They'll chain me. Hurt me. I'd rather. You won't, Kalen said, steady and calm. We fight. Together. Tira looked at him. Afraid, but something else was there. Trust. Kalen ran to the defense controls. Shields up. They'll fire soon. Tira stood still, heart pounding. But then she moved. She sat at the weapon panel. Her fingers flew across the keys like she had done it 1,000 times. Systems came alive. The ship's guns lifted. Targeting lines appeared. Kalen looked over. You know ship weapons? She didn't answer with words. Her actions were loud. Enough. The enemy ship fired first. A beam of red light slammed into the shields. The Wanderer shook hard. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Tira fired back. The quick shot struck the enemy's front engines. One hit. The other missed. Kalen pulled the ship into a fast spin. Nice shot. They're trying to trap us, Tira said. If they hit the rear, we lose power. I'll keep us moving. Another blast came. The shield cracked, but didn't break. Tira adjusted the aim again. Their left cannon is open. She pressed the trigger. Directed. The enemy ship spun. Smoke rising from its side. Still, it didn't stop. They won't leave, she said. They want me. Then let's show them who you really are, Kalen said. Tira's hands moved faster, rooting energy. Locking on targets, her face was calm now. Her fear had become focus. After 10 more seconds of flight and fire, Tira made a bold move. Give me full power to the front weapons, she said. Kalen nodded. All yours. She aimed directly at their central command panel. A quick burst, 3 shots in perfect line. The enemy ship blinked, paused, then went dark. Tira waited. Then, enemy ship retreating. The system said, signal lost. They were gone. Silence filled the cockpit. Kalen turned to her. You just saved us. Tira sat back, breathing hard. Her hands trembled again, but this time, not from fear. They wanted me to stay broken, she said. But I'm not. No, Kalen replied. You're stronger than they ever knew. That night, Kalen repaired the damage. Tira helped him silently. They didn't speak much. The sounds of tools and quiet breathing filled the room. When the work was done, they sat on the floor, drinking warm tea. I used to dream of escaping, Tira said. But I never dreamed of fighting back. Kalen looked at her. You didn't just fight. You won. Tira looked at her hands again. They used to teach me how to fix and fly ships. But they never expected me to use those skills against them. You used what they gave you to free yourself. She nodded slowly. Do you think they'll come again? She asked. Kalen shrugged. Maybe. But next time, we'll be ready. He stood and reached into a drawer, pulling out a small silver tag. What's this? Tira asked. It's a crew badge, he said, handing it to her. I only had one made before, just for fun. But now, it belongs to you. She held it gently. It had her name on it, Tyrian, below that. One word, crew. Her eyes watered slightly. Not from sadness, from something else, something soft and full. Thank you, she said. Kalen smiled. You've earned it. That night, Tira didn't sit by the window alone. She sat beside Kalen in the cockpit. They watched the stars together. In the past, Tira had been a number, a tool, a shadow. in the corner of a cage. But now, she was something else. She was a fighter, a CREWMATE. And, for the first time, truly free. The Wanderer floated in orbit above a quiet, green planet. It was a peaceful colony world, far from the core systems and far from danger. The planet below had no cities, just small villages, farms, and forests, no warships, no slavers, just people living free. Kalen leaned over the control panel and smiled. This is Alan's Rest. I used to stop here years ago. It's safe. Tira stood beside him, looking through the wide window. The sight of green trees, rivers, and distant mountains made her silent. Her fingers touched the glass as if trying to feel the world beyond. It's beautiful, she whispered. You want to go down and see it? Kalen asked. She nodded slowly. Yes, I'd like that. They landed on a small platform near a village. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of flowers and soil. Children ran through the fields. Farmers walked slowly, carrying baskets of food. Nobody rushed. Nobody shouted. It was a place of calm. Tira stepped onto the ground with wide eyes. Grass brushed her feet. A soft breeze moved through her hair. I forgot how real air feels, she said. Kalen smiled. You're breathing freedom now. They walked through the village together. People greeted them kindly. Some waved, others simply smiled and nodded. No one asked questions about where Tira came from. No one judged her skin or her quiet nature. They stopped at a small cafe. A friendly old woman brought them fruit and warm bread. Tira took a bite and looked surprised. It's sweet. Everything tastes better when you're free, Kalen said with a wink. Tira laughed softly. Later, they met a group of settlers building a small school. Among them was a woman with long ears and golden eyes named Myron. She welcomed them and showed them around. You're welcome to stay here, Myron said. We don't ask where people come from. We only ask what they hope to do next. Tira looked at Kalen. We're just passing through. But this place feels special. Myron nodded. It is. Many here were once like you, lost, chained. Now they're free, just like you. Tira said nothing, but her heart was full. That night, Kalen and Tira stayed in a small guest cabin near the woods. The walls were made of smooth stone, and the roof let in moonlight. It was quiet, no engines, no alarms, just nature. Tira stood by the window and watched fireflies float through the air. Do you miss Earth? She asked softly. Sometimes, Kalen said, but I think I was always searching for something. And maybe I found it. Tira turned. What were you searching for? He paused. A reason to fly. A reason to keep going. She looked down. And now, he smiled gently. Now I fly to help others. The next morning, Tira helped the villagers fix a broken water pipe. She used simple tools and her sharp eyes. When it was done, a small group clapped for her. A little alien girl walked up and offered her a flower. For you, the child said. Tira took it slowly. Her eyes watered a little. Thank you. Back at the ship that night, Tira sat at the table, holding the flower in one hand and a data pad in the other. She was drawing something. Kalen walked in. What's that? A new design, she said. A home, made from parts of ships and metal scraps, strong, simple, open to the sky. He looked over her shoulder. It's good, very good. I want to build places like this one day, she said. Safe places, for others like me. Kalen nodded. You will. I believe it. Tira looked up. Kalen, what if we make the Wanderer into something more? What do you mean? Not just a cargo ship. What if we use it to find others like me, others who are still not free? Kalen's eyes widened. You want to help them? Tira nodded. We can. We know the routes slavers use. We know how to hide. We can bring people to places like Alan's Rest. Kalen leaned back, thinking. Then he smiled. You're right. We can. And we will. Over the next few days, they gathered supplies, tools, and parts. Kalen upgraded the engines. Tira added hidden compartments and a stronger defense system. They even painted a new symbol on the side of the ship to open hands, holding a star. This will be our mark, Tira said. Not just yours. Ours. Kalen nodded. The mark of hope. On the final day before they left, Myron gave Tira a small gift, a silver pin shaped like a leaf. "This is from my people," Myron said. "We give it to those who protect the future." Tira held it gently. "Thank you. You're not just free now," Myron said. "You're a light for others." That night, as the ship lifted off, Tira looked down at Alden's Rest. The forests, rivers, and tiny homes grew smaller below her. "I'll come back," she said. "One day, with more people." Kalen stood beside her. "And we'll build them a home." She looked at him. "We already have." The stars opened above them. The Wanderer was no longer just a ship. It was a mission, a promise. And Tira, once silent and broken, now stood tall with a voice, a purpose, and a heart full of fire. The Wanderer glided through space, heading towards a dark cluster of asteroids. The mission was clear: find a hidden slaver camp reported by traders. Kalen and Tira prepared themselves quietly. Both knew this journey was different, more dangerous. More important, Tira checked the ship's sensors. The slaver's ships should be near the largest asteroid. Kalen studied the map. "We'll need to stay hidden. They have patrol drones." Tira nodded. "I can handle the sensors. If we detect patrols early, we can avoid them." They spent the hours before arrival going over every detail. Tira was calm, but inside, her heart beat fast. Memories of her past chain life flickered like shadows, but this time she held onto something stronger: hope and purpose. As the Wanderer approached the asteroid field, the ship slowed. Tiny rocks floated around them, glittering in the starlight. Tira's eyes focused on the screens. "Patrol drones, 10 o'clock, she whispered. Moving fast. Kalen nodded and adjusted the course. The ship slipped between the rocks. Silent and small. The patrol drones passed by without noticing them. Tira breathed out slowly. "We're lucky. Luck helps," Kalen said, "but skill keeps us alive." Inside the asteroid's shadow, they found a hidden bay carved into the rock. Several small ships were docked, their hulls dark and scratched. "This is it," Tira said. "The camp." Kalen lowered the ship closer. "We can't land here. Too risky. We use the escape pods." Tira suggested. "They won't expect us to attack from below." Kalen smiled. "Good plan." They prepared to escape pods and packed essential gear tools, a small weapon, a communication device, and ration packs. Tira's hands trembled slightly as she checked the equipment. "Are you sure about this?" Kalen looked at her. "I'm sure. You saved us once. Now it's our turn to save others." She nodded. The pods ejected smoothly, floating silently toward the asteroid base. They landed near a small airlock hidden behind mining machines. Kalen opened the airlock with a device that hacked the lock. The door hissed open. Inside, the camp was dark and cold. The air smelled stale. They moved carefully, avoiding guards and cameras. The soft hum of machines filled the rooms. Suddenly, a distant shout echoed. "Over here." They followed the sound and found a group of prisoners, men, women, and children locked in a small cage. Their faces were tired but hopeful. One man stepped forward. "You came to help?" Tira smiled softly. "Yes, we're here to take you home." Kalen worked on the cage lock. "This will only take a moment." As the door clicked open, the prisoners slowly stepped out, blinking at the light. Just then, alarms blared through the camp. "They've noticed us," Kalen said quickly. "We have to move." Tira led the group through winding corridors. Guards appeared, but Kalen fired warning shots that scared them away. Tira used her knowledge of the ship's defense systems to help guide the group to the pods. Outside, the prisoners climbed into the pods. Kalen and Tira followed last. Covering the retreat, the escape pods blasted off just as slaver ships arrived. The Wanderer opened its cargo bay doors and caught the pods inside. Back on the Wanderer, the prisoners were tired but safe. Tira helped give them food and water. One young girl smiled up at her and took her hand. "Thank you," she said softly. Tira's eyes filled with tears. For the first time, she felt the power of true kindness. Kalen spoke to the rescue group. "We'll take you to Alden's Rest. It's a safe place." One of the men nodded. "We thought we would never be free." Tira looked around the room. "Now you are." As the ship flew away from the asteroid, Tira sat quietly, thinking about the people they had saved. Kalen sat beside her. You were brave today. Tira shook her head. We all were. Together. Kalen smiled. You lead. Well, I'm proud of you. Tira looked up at the stars outside. This is just the beginning. The Wanderer moved steadily through space, carrying the rescued prisoners toward Alden's rest. Inside the ship, the air was filled with quiet hope and soft conversations. Tira watched the faces of the people around her. Some were scared, some tired, but all were free. Kalen sat beside her, sipping tea. We're almost there, he said. They'll be safe. Tira nodded. It feels different this time. Like we're really making a difference. As the ship landed on the soft soil of Alden's Rest, villagers and friends gathered to welcome the newcomers. Myron was there, her eyes warm and wide. You've done a great thing, she said, hugging Tira. These people will heal here. The rescued people smiled, some crying quietly as they stepped onto the planet's ground. Children ran to the fields, laughing. Tira felt something deep inside her, a quiet joy that had never been there before. Over the next days, Tira helped the new rivals settle. She showed them the village, helped build small homes, and listened to their stories. Each tale was a reminder of the darkness they had left behind, but also of the bright future ahead. One evening, as the sun set over golden fields, Tira stood outside her small cabin. Kalen joined her. You've changed everything, he said, softly. Not just for you, but for all these people. She smiled, looking at the stars beginning to shine. I never thought I could be more than a slave, she said. But now I see, we are more. Kalen took her hand, and we always will be. The days turned into weeks. The village grew stronger, and the rescued people found new strength and freedom. Tira and Kalen worked together to build plans, to find more slaver camps, to save more people, and to create a network of safe places. Their ship, the Wanderer, became a symbol of hope across many systems. Stories spread of a brave woman who escaped chains and now flew through space, freeing others. One morning, as Tira walked through the village, a small child ran up to her, holding a shiny rock. This is for you, the child said shyly. Tira took the rock and smiled. Thank you. It's beautiful. The child smiled back. Because you are. That simple moment filled Tira's heart. That night, Tira sat with Kalen under the wide sky. The stars above were bright and clear. Where do we go next? She asked. Kalen looked thoughtful. Wherever there's need. Wherever freedom is waiting. Tira nodded. We'll keep flying. Keep fighting. Kalen smiled. Together, Tira looked up at the stars, feeling the vastness of space and the endless possibilities ahead. Once, she had been just a slave, lost and alone. Now, she was a leader, a friend, and a light in the darkness. And her journey was only beginning.